I have a good record, and you are now favored to beat me, and you are needing the win.
Yeah, I am needing the win. And welcome into our fantasy football show here at Multiple First Dynasty Football on YouTube. This is Tony Stoll coming at you. You got a little impromptu Greg there because he and I are playing each other in the MFDF League this week. His 9-1 team against my underdog ragtag 5-5 upstart coming after the king. Can't wait for this. Gonna take his own Denver running back and run him off the field in our league of record here. Thank you so much for joining us. As you can see, me and Greg are playing each other here. We're stoked about that. We got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be bringing you, as always, our buys and sells, our buy highs, our sell lows here, and then we're doing our starts of the week. We're going to be taking you through the players we like at all 4 fantasy football positions, as well as a recommended sit. Greg, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Man, it is Thanksgiving week. It is week 11. The playoffs are coming. Christmas is coming. Who could be better? Who could be better?
I love it, man. Holiday season is gorgeous. We've still had like crazy good weather in Northeast Ohio. I mean, it's been like 65 degrees, sunny, like all week. So it's been great, man. How's it been in Texas?
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I hate the Texas summers. I hate the heat.
Yeah.
And so it has broken. It is good. I enjoy it. It hasn't gotten nasty yet. And hey, let's say one other thing. It's been a good week because my starts of the week last week were bananas good.
They're on fire, man. What were they? Run us back.
Well, I had 3 hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
K-Dot and the tight end was a bit of a miss.
Yep.
Kyler Murray, I said run him right back out there, and he finished as the quarterback 12, depends on your scoring, 13, 12. I said run him right back out there in your Superflex leagues. Don't even worry about it. It's a great matchup. No risk it, no biscuit. That worked out great. And then I said, hey, guys, hit that Houston matchup. It's going to be a shootout. Devin Singletary, start of the week, running back, finished as the running back 3. Noah Brown finished as the wide receiver 7 from out of nowhere. It was a really good week for me. So, hey, guys, I've had a few good weeks here. Tony's had plenty of good weeks himself. So let's hit these starts and sits. Listen up.
Yo, that's what we bring
advantage.
to you. We bring you our advice so you can hopefully win your weeks, win your leagues. We're not your financial advisor. You got to make your own decisions, but we're here to bring you some input, and we try to support it with some good insights, some good numbers, all kinds of good stuff there. But we're going to do buys and sells. So when we do our buys and sells here on the channel, the typical thing we look at is a 10 to 12 start type league, starting 10 to 12 guys, super flex, tight end premium, full PPR, and me and Greg and I play in a lot of 2 tight end leagues, so you might hear us mention that as well. But I'm going to get a start us here this week. My start of the week.
No.
Oh, we're doing buys and highs. Sorry, yeah. Okay, well, okay. Excuse me. My buy high here is going to be Mr. Josh Dobbs, the new quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Dobbs is currently the quarterback 21 on Keep Trade Cut, and he's been just trending up all year, so it's hard to really put a value as to where he was from. But Dobbs is the quarterback 7 on the season right now. I didn't even realize that until I looked at it right now. The current 5 players that are above him on the quarterback list on KTC are not in any particular order, but Deshaun Watson, Jordan Love, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Brock Purdy are all higher than him. I could see a reality where Dobbs plays well, maybe enters the 24 season as their starter, and could leapfrog all of those players. As I look through several trade calculators, some different resources, it looks like Dobbs can be had for roughly an early second. I want to put something out there. He was just recently traded in one of my leagues. I think it was this one. Josh Dobbs was Dobbs was traded for Chuba Hubbard in a second. Like, that was the deal, and that, I think that's a really fair deal for Josh Dobbs, especially this late in the season. A quarterback needy team's probably gonna have to pay some type of tax. But Kirk Cousins was on pace to throw for 5,000 yards. Dobbs will be operating that same offense. He passes the eye test. Go buy him.
Yeah, Tony, I love you, man, but I'm out at that price.
Okay.
I love when you and I don't agree on everything. Because I think you were one of the sharper analysts out there, and I agree with a lot of your takes. But my friend, I think Kirk Cousins is going back to Minnesota, and there are other things I would do if I were trying to go fill a quarterback 2 slot right now, like Brock Purdy.
I've inquired on Purdy. People want like 2 first-round picks for Brock Purdy. I mean, he's way up there, and like in the buy low quarterback territory. I mean, you have like a Dobbs, you have a Mayfield, you have a Minshew, you have like a Heineke.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in Josh. I just don't believe in Josh Dobbs. I know he's a feel-good story, yada yada yada. I just don't believe. I think he's not. He's been around a long time. Small sample size. His Arizona stuff was like they were actually bad. He was just running around a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he goes to Minnesota and it's like, oh wow. But it's like the sample size is so small. I just don't believe. I know. Listen, you're in good company with a lot of really good analysts who are buying. I'm selling. I'm out.
And you know what's? I mean, both can be true because you could have picked this guy up off the waiver wire and sell him for like a late first, 2 seconds, something like that, and feel great about it. And another guy could pay that price, get good production the rest of the season, and also feel great about it. So there's a lot of win-win opportunity with Josh Dobbs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't because I had a lot of Colt McCoy and no Josh Dobbs, but plenty of Clayton Tune also.
Oh, so much Clayton Tune.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Right. But like, no, I'm just not. I get it. Like, lots of people are convinced. I just am not one of them.
Who you buying, man? Who's your buy?
I am buying Brandon Cooks.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Cooks is up. He's the wide receiver 71. It's the wide receiver 71. He's 30 years old. I get it. But he's up from the wide receiver 86 on November 13th, right? So he's up significantly. And he has 3 wide receiver 2 or better performances in his last 4 weeks. And I really think this offense is going to be good all of the rest of the season. And the Dallas playoff schedule is ridiculously good for passing game weapons. So when I put all of that together, like at wide receiver 71, if he's good for the rest of the year, he paid his price. He doesn't have to be anything next year. And I think he'll still be something next year, but he doesn't need to be anything next year to pay out if you pay wide receiver 71 prices for him and get a reliable wide receiver 3 for the rest of the season.
And there's a good chance he can be had in your league too. He hasn't been so great that he's on a winning team for sure. And also in your older dynasty leagues, in your 3 and 4 year old leagues, Brandon Cooks might be sitting on someone's roster for several years now. Maybe that team isn't in the best shape, and they would entertain like a 3rd or 4th round draft pick for Brandon Cooks. And like you're saying, that's a fair price to pay for the production moving forward. I mean, Carolina, Washington, in the Detroit Dome in the fantasy playoffs, Week 17. You got at Miami, Week 16. Philly is in there. Seattle.
Some shootouts.
We love all these games. I mean, we got other elite quarterbacks. We got a lot of juice, and we got even a lot of home games. I mean, Dallas has been better at home all season, and we're looking at 5 home games remaining until Week 17. So I love that.
There's a lot to like there, right? For if you're looking to rent a wide receiver,
4 home games. Sorry.
there is a lot to like with Brandon Cooks.
Absolutely.
The price and all that stuff. Very good. Who are you selling?
Yeah, a wide receiver there's not very much to like in my opinion right now moving forward. So I am selling right now Jacoby Myers, off-season darling, early season breakout. Jacoby Myers. So for me, the quarterback switch has been really bad for Myers. He is looking at 7 targets over the last 3 weeks. That's been tough. His market, again, on a little markets, it looks like you could sell him, little market research, it looks like you could sell him for around a second plus, like a second plus a third, 2 seconds. I love that, like 24, 25 second pair in a deal. That's the kind of stuff you could get from Myers, and I think he's a really safe sell. There's a decent chance that Michael Mayer jumps over him in the pecking order, maybe this year or at least in the near future. They just fired their head coach. I like Antonio Pierce. I've liked him as a player. He seems like he's going to be a good coach, but like a lot of uncertainty at quarterback. not a lot to feel good about with Myers. I expect him to continue to trend downward, and I like him as a contending team sell. If you're someone who's emptied out your draft pick haul or whatever, you could probably sell Myers and recoup some of that and kind of even yourself back out, because I don't see a lot of production moving forward. The schedule's rough. There's a decent Minnesota game, but you still got the bye ahead of him. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, it's, I just don't believe in this offense with Aiden O'Connell.
I don't either. That's the biggest thing here. And he's probably the third target in an offense you don't believe in. So what are you going to do?
And then now the flip side of that is if you can get him real cheap, because I think it's probably not here yet, but I actually think this may go badly enough that he's a buy in 3 weeks, because like this has been terrible since the switch. But Davante Adams doesn't look like he's going to be there next year, I don't think. So like that could, like, then all of a sudden he could be the target leader next year or something like that. So but not at wide receiver 44. At wide receiver 44, you're looking for further drop here.
Excuse me. Yeah, he's at wide receiver 44 now. He was a 36 about a month ago. So trending downward. I mean, he could land into that Brandon Cooks wide receiver 70 territory, and Cooks probably scores more points than Myers the rest of the way. That'd be a safe bet.
I think he does.
Yeah.
If you could go sideways and get a thing on top, I would love to do that.
You could probably get Cooks in a third for Myers right now. Cooks in a second for Myers, maybe. I mean, that's a trade's worth exploring if you're winning, if you're just a Myers owner in any way. But who's your sell this week, sir?
I am ready to sell Ken Walker.
Yep.
He is the running back 8. He is down from the running back 5 on the 23rd of October, a week before Halloween. He has been the touch leader in this backfield, but he has not been the snap leader. Zach Charbonnet has outsnapped him 3 weeks in a row. And there's that old saying, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a trend.
3 is a trend.
And I am concerned, right? Like, 2, you could be like, oh, well, the first one he was coming back off the injury. And the second one had a weird game script. And all that was true. And then last week, he's 3 weeks back off the injury and the game script isn't weird. And he's still the carries leader, but he's not the touch leader.
Yeah.
Or he's not the snaps leader, which is really problematic for a guy at his price point.
Yeah, like, top 10 Dynasty RB, man. I mean, if you can get out at that price, I love what you're saying. That's a price tag where you could exit for a comparable player for a first round pick and maybe even a third asset on top of that. And Walker was almost my sell this week. I looked very hard at Ken Walker. The snap share you're breaking down has been it's very disappointing.
I know you have a lot of shares.
So much Ken Walker.
It's time to move. If you are a non-contender, get out of Ken Walker. I don't even hate moving. Being like, what can I get on top of Josh Jacobs? What can I get on top of Saquon Barkley?
Yeah.
Those are questions I don't mind. Like, if I need a running back, I don't mind getting older off of Ken Walker, because I don't think he has the job security you want from a young player, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, can I get Austin Eckler and stuff for Ken Walker, and then we'll just replace Walker with Eckler for as long as he lasts, and then we'll try to make the stuff into other long-term assets.
Yeah, ETN's on my mind too. I mean, if I could go from Walker plus a little bit, not a lot, plus a little, to go get ETN, I think about that. The other manager's probably not selling, but that's. At least that way you're preserving the points Walker's been providing. But I do agree that you should be exploring trading Walker. It's my anticipation for Walker entering the 24 draft season is, and for the remainder of this season, is that Charbonnet continues to have a high snap share and probably has some pop games along the way. And you're going to see Walker as being like a 4th or 5th round pick, I think, next year. And right now you could trade him for like a late 2nd round startup value. So that's the value loss you're risking over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Like Ken Walker, and you're contending second for Rachaad White and a first. You see what I'm saying?
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's.
And I'll gross volume out most of what Walker was giving me, and I'll have a first. I hate that.
That's an interesting trade. Yeah, a lot of that is what the first is. If it's like a middle first, if it's for sure a bottom 2 or 3 first, I don't know if I'm willing to let him go yet. I might just roll the dice. He's such an explosive player.
He's the 4 seed right now.
He's the 4 seed. Oh, that first.
It's the 4 seed right now.
Yeah.
So it's a 9.
It's sitting at bottom half for sure. I mean, it's the type of move that makes you take a hard look at your team and make sure you're competitive too. So.
Right. Anyway, so there's where I'm at. All right, so that's buying high, selling low. Where are our starts and sits of the week? Tony, who do you have at quarterback this week?
Start this week. I love my start of the week this week, and it's Jordan Love. I haven't had the same success you have picking starts at the quarterback position. My last 2 weeks have been kind of rough. Yo, why can't I type right now? There we go. Jordan Love is playing against the LA Chargers this week, and he has a great matchup against them. The LA Chargers are allowing about 400 yards to opposing offenses on a weekly basis. It's like 398. It's second worst in the NFL. They're also 31st best against the fantasy quarterback. They're allowing something like 22 points per game to the fantasy quarterback. The 44-point over-under here also features the Packers having a 3-point deficit. They're projected down 3. So we're seeing that at home for them. So the gap is really more like a whole touchdown. Should see some good passing volume in what should be a close, high-scoring affair. The Chargers defense is exploitable. Aaron Jones and Christian Watson both practiced at least in limited fashion this week. So with all them available, I think quarterback 13 on the season absolutely should be in your starting lineup. I'm starting Mr. Jordan Love ahead of guys like
Trevor Lawrence.
Yo, I had guys listed. Am I starting him over Trevor Lawrence? No, not Lawrence. But there was like Baker and Geno, and like I have Love at like quarterback 13 this week. So like right around where he's ranked, like 13, 14.
All right. I have the Love Lawrence question on both of my Love shares. That's why I asked.
Yo, who's Lawrence playing against again?
Asking for a friend. Who is Lawrence playing again? It's
Tennessee. I'd go Lawrence there. Yeah, I did look at that. I remember now. I would go Lawrence there. I think Love is like a couple spots lower for me.
Right behind. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Very good. Well, speaking of the Tennessee Jags game, and also speaking of your previous starts of the week, my quarterback start of the week this week is Will Levis. I think you were a week early.
Yeah.
So Titans Jags has an over/under of 40, which isn't great. But this is a terrible week for over-unders if you look at it. It's like not only are there a bunch of sub-40 over-unders, but there are a bunch of games that are like 44 with a 10.5-point spread, which means one of the teams isn't going to score any points, and the other team may be benching their starters, right? Like, so, if I see a 10.5-point spread, I really want to see that 46, 48 over under before I feel good about them.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of games I don't like this week, and I think Titans Jags is a pretty good bet to be over on this one. I think this is a good spot for the over. It's a bad week for streaming quarterbacks. I think you got the best one, but I think you can play Will Levis this week. And I kind of see a bit of a shootout that the Jags end up pulling away in the second half. But like maybe the Titans keep up for a while and then lose it on Levis turnovers late or something like that. That's sort of how the game script feels to me. And so for me, if you're in a struggling situation here, that's the move. That's a move you can make.
Yeah, and these big armed typed quarterbacks are very hot and cold, especially earlier in their careers. So we've seen a great game from Levis. We have 2 pretty down weeks. I mean, just on a strictly gambler's fallacy, there's a decent chance that he has a big week just on that alone. The matchup's solid.
I know. Right?
But we're going to move on to the running back position. I'm going to go first here. So my start of the week is actually a guy I've used in the past. It's going to be Mr. Darrell Henderson of the LA Rams. So Kyren Williams is returning in Week 16, it looks like, and this is probably the last big one for Darrell Henderson, not Darrell Williams. Where are we at? Hendo is playing against the Miami Dolphins, right? No, it's Seattle. There we go, Seattle.
There you go.
We got a 46.5-point over/under. Anderson's seen 7 targets over the last 3 weeks. That's not great, but it means he's involved in the passing game. And the reason why I touch on that is because Seattle allows the most receptions to the running back position in the NFL. They allow about 8.5 receptions a game to opposing running backs. Henderson is clearly that guy for this team. They're not particularly great at defending the run, just the rushing attack. So I like this high over-under. I like Henderson, catch 5 or 6 passes, flirt with 100 total yards. Really good probability of a touchdown if Freeman doesn't just get it. But I like Henderson as a inside the top 20 play, maybe in that 15 to 20 territory. But he should sneak in there this week. Still there, buddy? Greg?
Yeah. You
okay.
got me?
Yeah, you're good, man.
All right. Yeah, I like that. I like that a good deal.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Who's your running back starter?
My running back at the start of the week. I almost used this guy last week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I stuck with Devin Singletary, but this still would have been a good pick last week. I'm going with Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle had his best usage of the year last week by far.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting, I think subjectively, he was getting a little bit more involved in the first half, and then they blew out. The Giants, and he had a bunch of run in the second half. He's 4.5 yards to carry on the season, so he's been efficient. They have the Carolina Panthers this week. The Panthers are absolutely awful. Dallas is a 10.5 point favorite. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think there's going to be a lot of garbage time. I think Rico Dowdle might have 8 carries in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is a deep and desperate play.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need like a running back 3 to sit in your running back 2 spot, I think, and you don't have an obvious running back 3, but like maybe Rico Dowdle is a handcuff you've been holding, I think you can roll him out there this week.
Yeah, I have a 3 RB start league where I am starting Rico Dowdle, and I have a few times, but now I just feel good about it. So,
yeah.
I like that as a play. Pollard's been down, and I got to be honest with you, I haven't watched a lot of it. Is he had less juice in your opinion? Is there any threat of Rico working into a more established role?
I think Tony Pollard is not right from the ankle. That is what I think. From the ankle that ended his season last year. And then, sometime around May, we got this. He's going to be right for week 1. And he was healthy for week 1. And he hasn't been on the injury report for the ankle. He just doesn't look his old self to me.
Yep.
So I think there is definitely a possibility that Rico Dowdle gets last year's Zeke role going forward. Or maybe not all of it, but like 80% of it. And Tony Pollard has last year's Tony Pollard role plus 20% of the Zeke role, right?
Yep.
And that could make Rico Dowdle a playable asset. And then you've also got the injury lottery ticket where if something happens to Tony Pollard, this is one of the most obvious candidates to win people leagues because, oh, look, in week 14 through 16, he's the running back 7.
Yeah, because he just he did a Rashad Penny or something where he just went nuts at the right time
for free in June because some report came out that had him above. Who was the guy? Malik Davis.
Yes.
Remember, we all thought Malik Davis was an interesting ad?
I had a lot of him, and I had a lot of Dowdle too. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, somebody was like, "Hey, I think Rico Dowdle's ahead." And like, if you were sharp that day in June or July, I think it might have been, you added a bunch of Rico Dowdle, and you've been holding him since then. So.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on something. So our guys are Dowdle and Henderson at running back. I mean, Henderson probably came off your Dynasty waiver wire this year, in the past several weeks since Kyron got hurt, and Rico probably in the offseason, like Greg said. And that's, I just want to touch on, that's what we try to bring you, is we try to select guys as our starts who you probably have other options. We're not going to tell you you start of the week as Derrick Henry, even though you maybe got him in a later round. But I want to pick someone who you added to an already drafted, already set up lineup for the most part. And now I'm telling you, this guy can produce for you. It's a little less, I'm trying to play a volume game with Henderson, but yeah.
Absolutely. We're here trying to help you with the marginal starts in your start 10 leagues, Superflex leagues, right? So we're not here to tell you to start the obvious starts in a start 10 league, right?
Yeah.
And so who's your start of the week at the wide receiver position for us this week?
Yeah, the wide receiver position for me this week is I'm gonna double down on my Packers bet, and I'm gonna go with Romeo Doubs from the Green Bay squad there. So Doubs is gonna be looking at that LA Chargers juicy matchup as well. The Chargers are currently allowing 55 fantasy points per game to wide receivers in PPR formats. That's the opposing whole group of wide receivers. The Chargers on average allow 55 points. That's a lot. Doubs led Green Bay in snaps and routes run in Week 11. Admittedly, Jaden Reed was right behind him in snaps. I think the number was like 35 routes. And Doubs was at 86 snaps and Reed's right around 60. So Reed could definitely pop here too, and I encourage playing him. I personally like Doubs more this week. Wide receiver 3 for me. Really solid wide receiver 3. I'm playing him over Rashee Rice. I'm playing him over Deontay Johnson. I'm playing him over Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm not going to repeat the stuff I said with Love, but just know it's a great matchup here for Doubs.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice. By the way, guys, while we're on the subject of Green Bay wide receivers, I just want to throw this out there. If you are a rebuilding team who's looking to use the end of your roster productively, go look at Dontavian Wicks. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who's got 4 targets in each of the last 3 weeks, and he was a 5th-round pick. He's a rookie. He's an injury away from getting a decent amount of volume and having some trade value. This is your go add Noah Brown kind of like. Go add Noah Brown for free. Go add Dontavian Wicks for free. I like the Green Bay passing game this week, and I actually like the Green Bay passing game for the rest of the season. So I like your pick here, man.
Jordan Love was close to, or not Jordan Love, but Jaden Reed was close to being my buy high. I mean, because he's been trending up and he's very interesting. So it's both quality assets.
Absolutely. I agree. Like everything but Christian Watson has been looking good, which is actually in some ways scary for Christian Watson. My wide receiver start of the week is Jahan Dotson. This, I almost didn't do this because I feel like he's almost too high for this. But I mean, he went and goosed again last week. So I feel like I get to play him. I get to put him back out here.
Yeah.
Look, guys, if you look at last week, it was terrible. But if you look at the last month, it's been good. The volume has been good, even if you take the 4 weeks production and divide by 4, even including the 0 last week.
Yeah,
it's been good. And the Giants are awful, and they're going to get blown out. And I just play hey, last week, CeeDee Lamb had a great game in the first half. And then Brandon Cooks had a great game, and Michael Gallup got in the end zone, and the tight ends got in the end zone. Roll everything out against the Giants this week, man.
Yeah. Yep. Sam Howell's going to do what he wants. I mean, future Hall of Famer Sam Howell's going to do it out there. The Giants don't do anything particularly well on any side of the ball. So yeah, I like Dotson as a smash play. That's really, we say high end 3 is.
That's how I would see it, but I could see people looking out there and trying to bench him in a start 10 league, or looking for a way to bench him off the goose, because it's not his first goose this year, man. But this is not a week. This is not a week to worry about that. And I would even say Curtis Samuel is playable in this matchup.
The zeros are devastating. It's just obviously for the fantasy impact, but it just shows that the team didn't do anything to make sure this guy got at least 1 or 2 touches, which is really it raises a lot of red flags, and it makes you really paranoid about the player. So it's really it's frustrating stuff. So I like that you're giving confidence to our listener. Roll Jahan Dotson back out there. We might as well just call him a darling of the show at this point, because I think we both really like him.
Yeah, while also trading him away on our team of record.
We did do that, but let's go to tight end here. All right, tight end start of the week. I'm going to kick us off. We're going to go with Michael Mayer of the Las Vegas Raiders. Michael Mayer has been a top 10 tight end in 2 of the last 5 weeks. There were 3 terrible performances in the middle, but he's flashed some upside in the NFL. He's done plenty in college. The big play here for me is that Miami allows on average 6 receptions and 50-ish yards to the tight end position per game. That's bottom 3rd in the league. I like Michael Mayer specifically to have about 6-ish catches, about 60-ish yards, and a pretty good probability for a touchdown. They're 13-point underdogs to the Dolphins. O'Connell's going to throw the ball the most time he has had in his career so far. I expect him to have a career high in attempts in his short career. Mayer should be on the recipient of that, at least as some dump off type stuff. But I like good volume for Mayer this week. I think he's a reasonable flex option. And depending on your scoring system, in a normal tight end premium, I'm looking at like 15 points for Michael Mayer, and I like him as in that wide receiver 3 category, honestly.
Okay, yeah, in like a 1.5 tight end score 1.5 kind of place.
If he does 6 for 60 in a 1.5er, I mean, all of a sudden that got you what? I mean, that got 12 plus the other 3 that gives you 15 points, and then there's touchdown upside beyond that. So I like Mayer this week, and it's what the Dolphins allow. So like, I don't know. It all lines up there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think this is all very, very strong. So my start of the week is going to be David Njoku. This is another guy, kind of like Dotson, who I think is normally too high for this list. But I feel like on the heels of the Watson injury, people may be wanting to sit him. And I just think the way they're calling plays right now, and with Dorian Thompson-Robinson in there, man, this may be a check down machine kind of week. And so like I could see very high volume. I could see 8 catches for 35 yards, and in a tight end premium that actually works out just fine.
Yeah, I like it. I expect Njoku to lead the Browns in receiving this week. That's yes.
Yeah. So he honestly, I want to play Njoku and I want to play Ford, and those are the only 2 guys I want to play.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think Njoku's a solid tight end play. Another thing I want to touch on with Mayer though is he's completely separated himself from Hooper. At least that's what it looks like.
100%.
Yeah, he had 22 routes and 4 targets against Hooper's 10 routes and 1 target last week. So there's just they've separated. But let's get into sits of the week. We got some recommended sits for you, some guys that we think you should probably leave on the bench because you're going to regret it. And these are dudes who you probably been starting more often than not throughout the season. Those are the types of players we like to touch on here. But for me, it's going to be Amari Cooper of the Cleveland Browns. Dorian Thompson-Robinson started one game already. It was here in week 4. Cooper saw 6 targets, 1 reception for 16 yards. The DTR struggles with his accuracy. That's the one thing I took away from watching his single game as a starter. Cooper should see some decent targets, but like I could totally there's a high probability here of something like a 4 for 35 line for Cooper, and he got 7 points from it, and there was no upside really to be had. It's a 33-point over-under in Cleveland against the Steelers. 33 points. I'd have to check, but that might be the lowest of the year. That's really bad.
Yeah, and I like the other thing is like 4 for 35 with a touchdown. If that's the upside, that's not like even if you add the touchdown to it, it's not great. You know what I mean? Like, so I agree with you. I think this
Cooper's
is
floating around wide receiver 35 for me. Guys I would play above Cooper: Rashee Rice, Nico Collins, Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley. I easily play all those guys over him.
Yeah, I feel like I could go lower down this list. John Dotson.
Yeah, I would play Dotson and Dubs. Both are starts of the week easily.
Yeah. So like there you go, right? Like having just told you to start David Njoku, I don't trust the weapons with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. In fact, it's because I don't trust DTR that I want to play Njoku and nobody else.
Would you play all 3 Packers receivers over Cooper? I mean, Dubs, I think for sure. Reed, I'm leaning yes, and Watson seems like the riskiest. But I would play all 3 over.
Probably
Cooper.
Would.
Would you play all 3 Seattle receivers over Cooper? I mean,
Probably
easily.
Would.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Who's your sit this week, my man?
So my sit of the week is Russell Wilson, and I'm just gonna say, like Russ bounced back this year. He's been a lot better. And he's been a lot better for fantasy. You're probably pretty pleased with him as your quarterback 2 in a Superflex, and probably rolling him out there a lot. And you may not be able to get away from him this week. And the matchup on the very surface does not look terrible. Over-under is okay, etc. But let's get some this one little behind the numbers thing that scares me a lot. Minnesota is the most blitz heavy team in the league by an unbelievable margin. I should have looked up the numbers, but they blitz on more than twice as many snaps as a percentage of their snaps than any other team.
Yeah.
This year. It is over the top how much they are blitzing under new defensive coordinator Brian Flores. And Russell Wilson has one of the biggest blitz splits. That's a funny thing. Blitz.
Yeah.
In the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking up here. The Vikings are blitzing on 58% of their snaps.
Yeah. What's the league average? It's probably close to 30, I bet.
Let's see.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you dig through it.
I didn't get that one. It's like 22.
Mm-hmm.
It's like right.
It's
See,
really low.
So they are the there is a chance here. This looks really bad. You saw it on Monday Night Football with the Bills went to that all-out blitz on 3rd and long, and he got the DPI to Jerry Jeudy, but that was a terrible throw.
Yes,
that was a terrible throw on a home run ball, and that's been Russ all season. I do not trust this. You might not be able to get away with it, but I would start Jordan Love. I would start Matthew Stafford. I would start.
Would you start Baker against San Francisco over Russ?
That's the one I wouldn't because of the matchup. But I would start Baker in even a below average matchup. I fear San Francisco's defense a lot, but I would start Baker in even a below average matchup. This is worse than a below average matchup to me. I would easily start Sam Howell. I would start. I'm trying to think.
Can't think of another one either.
I'm not a Josh Dobbs fan. I would start Josh Dobbs in this game. And in this game, even though the Denver defense has been great for the last month, so there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of I feel very sketchy about. I would start Justin Fields first week back without seeing anything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would.
But Russ has been a fringe quarterback one this year, so you wouldn't normally think that's so obvious, but it is, right? You're staying with Kyler over him. I would consider Geno over Russ this week, and I would not consider that in any normal week. That may be a bridge too far, but so there's some guys I'm trying to keep them off on the bench. I want to throw one more thing out there. I very nearly went with Chris Godwin here.
Mm-hmm.
I have not loved Chris Godwin this year, and I do not like that matchup against San Francisco.
Yeah,
no. So that is another name that I might be trying to get away from for the same guys we mentioned with Amari Cooper.
Yeah, Baker's going to have a rough day against that all-pro pass rush that San Francisco puts out there. It's going to be tough.
I would start Godwin over Cooper, though.
Yeah, I would too. Cooper's down there, man. He's tough.
Yeah. But I would try to be benching Godwin. All right.
Yo, that's it, yeah. That's all of our starts. That's our sits. That's everything we got. That's our buys. That's our sells. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out our other video where we talk through some of this crazy injury stuff that's been going on, man. We got another featurette on what to do when you have hurt players that you were relying on. So check that out. Comment, subscribe, like it, love it, gotta have it. Have a good night, guys.